Hi there. Welcome to Work-Life Harmony. I am Megan Sumrell, and today I'm excited to have a conversation all around the relationship between guilt and gratitude. I never even thought that there was a relationship around this. I am a time management expert for women, and I'm on a mission to bring work-life harmony into homes all around the world through all things time management, organization, and productivity. Now, the day that this video is airing, we are actually just 2 days away from our Thanksgiving holiday here in the United States. And so the timing of this conversation that I'm going to be having with our guest, I'm going to have you meet her in just a minute, Jen, is really perfect. Because today Jen is going to be here sharing some tips on exactly how we can move away from guilt and into gratitude. Women in particular, this time of year, can feel really stressful, really anxious, and we start to feel guilty on all we're doing is focusing on what we're not doing instead of all the things that we are. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and welcome you to Jen, and let's go ahead and get this conversation started. And remember, if you want to never miss a video of all things time management, organization, and productivity, don't forget to click the subscribe button. Hey everyone, welcome back to Work-Life Harmony. I have a new guest that I'm thrilled to introduce you to today. I'm going to let her introduce herself in just a minute. Jen Trepick is a health coach, but so much more based on some of the conversations we've had about her views on work-life balance, how we handle taking care of ourselves when we are juggling that, and all the things. So Jen, welcome to the show. Why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself? And then I'm excited to have our conversation today around gratitude.
Yeah. So Megan, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. So I came to all this wellness stuff through my own, I call it a saga. I feel like the word journey doesn't do it justice.
I love that.
I mean, there was drama, there was ups and downs, right? So I was a dancer growing up. I ate healthy food. And then somebody in my family, though, was always on a diet. So when I started to gain weight between high school and college, I was like, okay, well, I know what to do because I watched my family do this, right? And I did every diet under the sun, gained and lost, that yo-yo, beating myself up into compliance, like all of the things, trying to white knuckle it and figure out how to get control over this piece of my life that felt so outside of myself,
Yeah.
And in that process, I learned about a curriculum that I ended up basing my practice on. And it really is the only thing that's allowed me to say I've kicked my food issues. I became a health coach because of it, because I was like, everybody deserves this information. This to me was like the nutrition education we're all supposed to know, but no one ever taught us.
Yeah.
It's
I grew up in
we're
the
all
era
humans,
of the
we have
pyramid.
bodies. Yes, exactly.
The food pyramid was all we were ever
right.
taught.
And so what I learned is, among many things, but the food pyramid that we thought was about nutrition or maybe biology was actually about economics. It was about getting us to eat what we grow in this country. What do we grow? Corn and wheat.
Yeah.
Right. So I learned all this and I was like, everybody deserves this information. Right. So I became a health coach. I built my practice on the side for 12 years. So for everybody who feels like they have a lot going on, I work full time. I had a side hustle before side hustles were a thing. It was before health coaching was a thing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, so this was all 2007. So in 2019, I left my full-time job and launched my podcast, Salad with a Side of Fries. And now I'm here talking to you, right? Long story short, but it's interesting because I came to all this through my own health stuff, mostly about weight. And in working with clients, I was having a challenge or my clients were having a challenge, I was an insatiable student. So I went to every seminar and workshop and read every book I could get my hands on to understand why we're feeling the way we are. What's the science of it? Because even the big thing for me with the nutrition stuff was the shift from choices being emotional to intellectual. In my old job, there was a communal kitchen. And Monday mornings, there was like continental breakfast, right? And those mini croissants and pastries had a voice and they would call my name, right? You laugh
Yep.
because you know, right? And I remember distinctly one day walking into the kitchen and going, oh my God, I get why that's appealing to me right now. So what that's telling me is that I need this. So let me go eat the thing that I had brought for breakfast and then see if I still want the mini muffin. And it was completely a different conversation than the one of before, which would have been like, why do you suck? Why can't you just not eat the croissant?
Mm.
Like you can walk in the kitchen and walk out once, maybe twice, but 3 times is real hard, you know?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because, we were kind of talking some about guilt, right? It's that guilty of like, oh God, what's wrong with me? And, at the time that this podcast is airing here in the US, we're just a few days away from Thanksgiving. And so there's a lot of talk and reflections and thoughts right now around gratitude. I know one of our family traditions, which I know so many families share, is sharing something we're grateful for before our Thanksgiving dinner. But it's also the time of year where, for women in particular, it's like we're just getting the engines revved because we're rolling into Thanksgiving. Then we've got all the, the chaos that comes with December. And there's a lot of guilt that can come with that, whether it's the guilt over the choices that we're making of the food that we're eating, whether it's the guilt of where we're spending our time, what we didn't do, what we felt like we should do, and we're not. So what are some strategies that you can share to help us get from a place where we can move away from the guilt and really truly focus on the gratitude? And then you were sharing even some brain science around why that focus on gratitude can actually help us as well.
We got a lot. There's a lot that we could talk about here, right?
Maybe like 2 really good strategies.
Yeah. So I want to preface the whole thing with an umbrella of, now this is not actual science. This is my own theory.
Okay.
Okay. When the guilt shows up. So I believe that the guilt shows up when we don't keep our commitments to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
When we don't do the thing that we told ourselves we were going to do. And most of us are more likely to keep the commitments we make to others than the commitments we make to ourselves because we're the only ones who know. And then it triggers the guilt. Coulda, shoulda, woulda, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if number one, our objective is simply to keep the commitments we make to ourselves, make commitments that you can keep. Maybe we aren't going to say, oh, I'm going to get to the gym for an hour. In fact, research shows us that 10 minutes of walking after a meal is crazy powerful. So I could do 10 minutes today.
Right.
Right. And when we keep that commitment of the 10 minutes, we get some momentum and we start to feel better about ourselves and everything.
And this
right?
ties so well into one of the 9 pillars or one of the 9 components in the entire top framework I teach. One of them is realistic. It's all about we've got to be realistic with the time that we have so that we're being realistic with what we're planning to do and the expectations that we have on ourselves.
Exactly. And so with that too, we can feel like, before we recorded, I was telling you, like, this idea of like the Venn diagram of our lives. Right. And we can feel like we're pulled in a million different directions. We have, the gifts for the holidays that we need to purchase and our work commitments and showing up for our family and cooking the holiday meal, let alone the every other meals. Right. And all the things that we feel like need our effort, energy, and attention. Right. And so it's like there's a million circles and somewhere in the middle, they all overlap and there's us, right? Like this octopus being pulled in a million directions. What if, instead of thinking about it like all these other things, right? And all these different things that need us, we sort of push all those circles together and it becomes one circle instead of a Venn diagram.
Mm.
And so the things that we do for ourselves support the way we show up for our kids, support the way we show up for our work and all the other things that are also priorities.
I love that you said that, because I
yeah,
think we all intrinsically know, like, okay, if I'm taking care of myself, I can show up better for others. But so often,
but then we
the
feel
first
anxious about the
thing,
time.
yeah, that's the first thing that falls off the plate of what we're
Right.
doing. And it's always the, well, if there's time. So I
Right.
love that you brought that up because it's so important.
And so thinking about that now, right? What if the 10-minute walk is everything I can do to support my kids, right? To show them that taking care of yourself is really important.
Right.
To demonstrate through our own, right? Because that's, what is it, like what we do versus what we say, right? 10 minutes. Or even, and to set expectations with them too. Hey, mom needs 10 minutes. When the
Right.
clock says this number, then I'm all yours. Right. And by that token too, I sort of, when we feel like we're pulled in all these directions, I feel like balance is nonsense, right? Like I call balance a 4-letter word.
I agree with that.
Right, right. And so what if, again, instead of trying to fit all the things in and find some sort of balance, we focus on presence so that when we're with our kids, we're actually with our kids. And when we have, a 30-minute window to tackle some work things, it is an incredibly productive 30 minutes.
Yep.
Right? I can tell you, like, as a kid, my parents got divorced when I was 5. There were certainly things that they weren't both at or didn't go to. And to this day, I'm best friends with my parents. Right? We can make things mean a lot. But if what our kids experience of us when we're with them is that we're present, that's it. Right?
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's what they're going to remember, not the fact that we had to go to the gym, or not the fact that we also prep dinner, right? Like all of these kinds of little things in there. So what do we have, right? The realistic, manageable commitments to ourselves. We have shifting our perspective that what we're doing is supporting them and supporting all the other commitments rather than taking away from them. So, perspective shift. Focusing on presence. So wherever we are, just be there. And then the last thing is the gratitude. Mm-hmm. So I have hours of content on willpower. So putting this into the Cliff Note version, think of willpower like a refillable cup.
Right.
We have 1 cup of willpower.
1 cup a day. That's it.
Unless we replenish it. So it's about thinking through all the things that drink from the cup and all the things that can put, willpower back into the cup. Your 10-minute walk puts willpower back into the cup. Nutrition puts willpower back into the cup. But interestingly, also, gratitude puts willpower back into the cup.
I love that.
So can we, for a few minutes, pause and just think about what we're grateful for? And I'm going to challenge everybody. A lot of times they say, 3 things. I'm going to challenge you to do 5 things. And
Thank
here's
you.
why.
I don't know why everyone is so obsessed with the number 3 on things. Your top 3 or your 3, like what? There's no science behind that. So
right.
I like 5. Let's do 5.
Right. And my challenge with 5 is because it forces us to find the little things. It's really easy to find 3 big things.
Right.
But when you got to go to 5, it forces us to think about the little things. So I live in New York City. So sometimes for me, it's like the train showed up exactly when I got down the steps. Right. Or it was raining, but not when I had to be outside. Little things that we can find to be grateful for. And so having the 5 versus the 3 pushes us to notice some of the smaller stuff that's there in every day.
Now, how does a focus on gratitude help us offload some of the guilt when maybe we don't make the best choices? And I think it's interesting to talk about even this time of year when I know for me, I'm always tempted to make not the best choices with all the goodies and treats that are floating around this time of year.
Yeah, it's interesting. I see it all the time where we think what's going to get us to do the things that we know we should do, right? Should in air quotes. I think also stop shoulding the bed. Like, can everybody get rid of that word? Yes. Right? When we try to beat ourselves up into compliance, it really doesn't work. But that's what happens when we have that guilt. We sometimes think that, like, if we make ourselves feel bad enough, then we'll do the thing. And what we actually see in behavior change science is that when we focus on what we do want, when we focus on what we're adding versus what we're eliminating, everything opens up. Everything becomes easier. And we can actually get to a place of momentum and consistency, which is what's required to make forward progress.
Right, right.
So one day, one meal, one anything isn't what got us here or what's going to get us there, whatever our there is.
Right.
Right. Like, in terms of exercise, I always say, like, it's not like you can go to recess once in 3rd grade and be like, check the box. I don't have to do that anymore. Right. Like, we have to do a little bit all the time. And so if we can just focus on the gratitude piece of the things that we are able to do in a day versus hyper focusing on the things that didn't happen, right? Like, all the people who make that to-do list just so they can cross things off, do it. Keep doing it.
Right.
Right? Because we want to focus it on everything we are doing. That gratitude for making it happen versus magnifying the thing that's making us, feel guilty that we didn't do.
And I think when we put our energy on the gratitude, then we just start seeing it everywhere. Kind of like everyone knows the old analogy of, like, the minute you go buy a certain car, all of a sudden you see it everywhere when you never used to see it.
Exactly.
But I think the same can be true with gratitude. When we start a practice of it, where we are doing our 5 or even more every day, it becomes easier and easier to see it. And then the more that we are seeing it, then it fills up all the space so that there isn't enough space for all the other gunk to take place in our brain and our experience.
Exactly. And, like, it's called the crowding out method, right? We're going to add all this good stuff in.
Right.
And the rest is going to take care of itself versus trying to pull out all of the bad stuff or all the stuff that's making us feel frustrated or stressed out or whatever.
Oh, I like that. So what was it? Crowding?
It's called crowding out.
Crowding out. Oh, I mean, I was, as soon as you said that, I instantly thought of, like, if you had a cup of water and you put a little color in it, you can't take that out, but you could just fill the water with clean water and eventually the other stuff
it'll be clear again.
Comes out.
Exactly.
Oh, that's so good. This has been so wonderful. I would challenge everyone that's listening to right now, well, as soon as we're done, take a minute and come up with 5 things, like, right away, so that you can start to practice this gratitude. And if you're listening to this on the day it comes out, you'll just be even more prepared to share your gratitude on Thanksgiving if you're in the US. Jen, where is the best place for people to connect with you? Do you have anything you'd like to share with everybody?
Absolutely. So first of all, thank you, Megan, for having me. I love nothing more than connecting with you. So we're giving everybody a complimentary discovery call. So you and me, 30 minutes, whatever you want to talk about. So you'll have the link for that. And then my podcast is Salad with a Side of Fries.
I love that name. I'm like,
thank
who
you.
doesn't want a side of fries with their salad?
Right?
Like, yes, please.
This is called balance. Okay. Right. That is where I will use the word balance.
Fair.
And then all social media, I'm at Jen Trepick, JENN TREPECK. Website is asaladwithasideoffries.com for those who are not social media people.
Yeah,
But
we've got all
wherever
the
works
links
for
for
you, send a
that
message.
in the show notes as well. But I
Perfect.
cannot thank you enough for sharing your most precious commodity, which is your time here with us today. It has been such a treat.
Thank you.